Kelly. We fixed our technical difficulties, and for the record, about to publish the 911 call.
Hampton County 911, what's your emergency?
On Salkehatchie Road.
Okay, what's the address on Salkehatchie Road?
I'm by the church.
What church? What church are you talking about?
I don't know the name of it, with the red roof.
Okay, what end of Salkehatchie Road? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
At the Hampton County side.
Okay, what's going on?
I got a flat tire,
Mm-hmm.
and I stopped, and somebody stopped to help me. And when I turned my back, they tried to shoot me.
Oh, okay. Were you shot?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay.
You shot where? Where were you shot at?
Huh?
Did they actually shoot you or they tried to shoot you?
They shot me, but
Okay, wait, you need EMS?
well, I mean, yes, I can't drive,
Okay.
and I'm bleeding a lot.
What part of your body?
I'm not sure. It's somewhere on my head.
Your head?
Somebody just stopped for me, ma'am. For 911.
Okay. Still?
Hey,
Okay, let me speak to him, see if he can tell me exactly where you are.
All right, for the record, I'm stopping that at 141. Was that the defendant on the 911 call?
Yes.
At that point in time, he said, "Someone shot me."
Yes.
Did he identify who that was?
No, he did not.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stage 545. And is this a copy of a body-worn camera video you received from the defendant in the ambulance at the scene?
Yes.
And by the scene, we mean the side of the road on September 4th.
Absolutely. Salkehatchie Road, September 4th, 2021.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd offer Stage 545 into evidence, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objection, Your Honor.
It's submitted.
All right, for the record, I am going to publish a portion of that video.
Tell me more than
I was going down the road. I had a tire go flat. I pulled over, and this car went by me. And I didn't pay a lot of attention. Truck, but then it turned around, came back. A real nice guy, acted like, and I turned my head, and I mean, boom.
Okay. You know what kind of gun it was?
I don't know what kind of gun it was, but it sounded like a shotgun, even though it was so loud. It didn't sound like a 22. I know that's what they think it is, but it didn't sound like a 22.
It looks like a small caliber hole. Yeah.
Small caliber?
Yeah, small caliber.
But it was extremely loud.
What's your name?
Alex Murdaugh.
Okay. What's your date of birth?
52768.
Over here, buddy.
You're good. You're good. What's a good telephone number, Mr. Murdaugh?
942-1227.
27. What's your address?
PO Box 457.
Box 457, Hampton.
321 South and Faith Temple, 321 South and Faith Temple. Uniform Nancy Parker, 136, repeat, Uniform Nancy Parker.
So what is, you said it's a blue color pickup. Is it a Ford, a GMC, or what?
It wasn't a Ford, I know that.
It wasn't a Ford. Like a Ram type, or?
You know, I think it was a GMC or a Chevrolet, but
GMC?
I'm not totally positive.
I got problems, open mouth.
So you kind of flat tire your Mercedes, then went inside the road, tried to change your tire. The blue color pickup came beside you, you thought everything was okay, and then it clouded. You think of a shotgun and just shot. How many times did it fire? You think?
I think just one time.
What times?
I lost my vision right when it first happened,
Okay.
and I think
Let's wait for leads on the
You gonna take him to the hospital?
What's that?
You gonna fly him out?
Oh, we flying. Yeah, we're flying. Yeah, we can't handle that.
Okay.
Not no traumas are hit like that. When the flight crew gets in, we'll find out where we're going.
Once you gotta give me some pictures of him first. Hold on 1 second.
All right, for the record, I played that clip from about 14:07 to 14:10 by the timestamp. Was that the defendant in the ambulance at the scene on Salkatchie Road?
Yes, it was.
And did he again tell the story that he had been shot by an unknown assailant?
Yes, the story was consistent.
All right, and did he say at any time during that anyone shot him?
No.
And what did he say the weapon sounded like that shot him?
He said it sounded like a shotgun.
On September 4th, you said you responded to a hospital,
Yes, in Savannah, Georgia.
all right? And who did you see when you were there?
I met with Alex Murdaugh and I met with Randy Murdaugh.
All right, and did you have a conversation with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
All right, and can you just very generally relate what the defendant said? Did he tell you a very similar story that we've heard from the 911 call in the ambulance video?
Yes, when we arrived in the hospital, Mr. Murdaugh was receiving treatment. He was awake and willing to talk to us. At that point, he was the only witness to this incident. We asked him what happened, and he told us a story that was consistent with the 911 call and with what was told to the deputy.
All right. And did he state that that a driver had stopped, passed by, turned around, and came back to the location?
Yes, he said the similar story that he was driving along Old Salkatchie, that he hit something significant with his tire, causing it to go flat. So when he pulled over to the side of the road to inspect the tire, it was flat. As he was doing that, he said a dark and colored Chevy pickup truck drove by, passed him, turned around, and came back to his location. He said he made contact with the driver, and as Mr. Murdaugh turned around to walk back to his vehicle, he said the driver then shot him.
Did he say that the driver of the truck seemed very nice?
He described the driver as a very nice, nice-looking male between 30 and 45 years of age.
Did he tell you what he thought the weapon was that shot him with?
Yes. While he initially said it was a shotgun in the ambulance, when we met with him at the hospital, he identified the weapon as possibly a .22 caliber.
Did he say whether or not he ever lost consciousness?
He said that he lost his vision, dropped down to his knees, but he did not believe he'd lost consciousness.
Did he describe the vehicle of the person that supposedly did this?
Yes, he again described a newer model, dark and colored blue Chevy pickup with, I believe, some type of sport tires.
All right. And did he describe the driver at all of this that supposedly was the person who shot him?
Yes, his description of the driver was consistent, a white male between 30 and 40 years of age. He described him as nice looking, a nice person. He described him as having close cropped hair with a close cropped facial hair.
And did he say whether or not he would recognize this unknown person if he saw him again?
Yes, Mr. Murdaugh told us that if he were to see the person again, he would be able to identify him.
At any point, did he identify specifically any individual, or did he claim that this was an unknown person to him?
He never gave a specific individual's name. He just said it was someone he did not know.
I'm going to return back to the scene, and I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 544. going to show you what's, thank you. I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 544 and see if you recognize this particular image.
I do. This was recovered from inside the black Mercedes SUV driven by Mr. Murdaugh. It is his assistant solicitor's badge.
Can I have the helmet real quick, please? All right, is that what's on the screen right now for the jury to see?
Yes, it is.
All right, turning back to now, let's move into September 5th. Did agents with law enforcement continue to sort of search that scene where the Mercedes had been located?
Yes. So on September 5th, agents returned to the scene. We were looking for any evidence of involved in the accident. We were looking for the significant piece of debris, and as we were searching the roadway around where the Mercedes had pulled off, we searched across the street in the grass area, and we recovered a gray in color utility knife.
Did law enforcement, did you notice any sort of debris or anything like had been described by the defendant as supposedly causing the damage to the tire?
No, we searched the area extensively, and we never were able to locate this significant piece of debris that Mr. Murdaugh described as causing his tire to go flat.
I'll show you what's been marked as states 546, and do you recognize that image?
Yes, I do.
And tell the jury what that is, please.
That is the folding knife that was recovered across the road from where Mr. Murdaugh's vehicle was parked.
Your Honor, this time, I believe without additional objection, the state would move in states 546.
No additional objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
All right, and is that the knife as it was found laying in the grass?
Yes.
And again, where was that location in relationship to where the Mercedes was?
The Mercedes was pulled off to the side of the road. This was directly across the road in the grass on the other side.
Was DNA testing ultimately conducted on this particular knife?
Yes.
And were two individuals in that DNA testing that came back in the propositions as a result?
Yes, DNA profiles of both Alex Murdaugh and Eddie Smith were identified on the knife.
In the course of the investigation, did you uncover any evidence that not long before this event occurred at 1:34 or so on September 4th that the defendant had a confrontation with an individual?
Yes.
And who was that? Remind the jury of that, please.
Prior to going to Salcahatchee Road, Mr. Murdaugh met with Chris Wilson.
And can you remind the jury what generally that discussion was about?
Mr. Wilson and Mr. Murdaugh met. Mr. Wilson, at that point, Alex Murdaugh had been terminated from his law firm, and Mr. Wilson became aware of that, so he wanted to meet with him to discuss what was going on, because obviously Mr. Wilson and Mr. Murdaugh had the missing $192,000 from the previous months that was still ongoing.
On September 6th, did you return back to the Savannah Hospital?
Yes, I did.
All right, and did you have another conversation with the defendant?
Yes. When Mr. Murdaugh advised us that he would be able to, would recognize the individual if you should see them again, SLED has at its resources a composite sketch artist. So we brought her down, and her and I went to Savannah back to the hospital to re-interview Mr. Murdaugh in an attempt to create a composite sketch of the unknown suspect.
All right, and just very quickly, what is a composite sketch?
Again, I'm not a composite sketch artist, so I'm a layperson as I describe this. It is where an artist uses a digital software in concert with resources of magazines, of certain body types and skin tones and whatnot, and allows the victim to like a catalog, to go through and find the identifying features closest that fit the unknown person, and those various parts are then drawn together to create a composite sketch.
All right. And during that particular interaction, was the defendant able to answer your questions?
He was.
Did he respond appropriately to subject matter?
He responded appropriately, was able to answer the questions asked of him. And again, we started from the beginning, and he again went over the entire scenario of what happened on the 4th, and it was consistent with the versions he had given us previously.
Did he agree to have this discussion with you?
He did agree.
And did you go into some discussion again with what happened on the side of the road, at least according to him at this point in time?
Yes.
And was it consistent with what he'd related before?
It was consistent.
Did he describe this unknown individual?
Again, he described him in a similar fashion: white male between 30 and 40 years of age, was nice looking, close cropped hair, manicured close facial hair. I believe he described him as wearing some type of outdoors type shirt. The description was consistent with what he had previously told us.
All right. And did he also provide a similar description of the vehicle that this individual was driving?
Yes, again, a dark and colored Chevy pickup truck.
And yet again, at any point during this period of time, did he identify who this person was, or did he say it was an unknown assailant?
Never identified who it was, and continued to tell us it was an unknown person.
Did he work with the sketch artist and looking through books and working to make a sketch of this supposed unknown assailant?
Yes, the sketch was completed.
And did that take a relatively extensive period of time?
Looking back, I don't know the exact approximate, but it probably took a couple hours for the interview and the sketch to be completed.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 547 to your testimony and see if you recognize that image.
I do. This is the composite sketch.
All right, Your Honor, at this time I would offer States 547, I believe, without additional objection.
Without additional objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
And what is this image on the screen?
That is the composite sketch created with the assistance of Mr. Murdaugh,
Based on his descriptions to the sketch artist?
based on his descriptions.
This is on September 6, 2021.
September 6, 2021.
That evening, did law enforcement receive any communication from the defendant's family?
Yes, on the evening of September 6th, Special Agent Owen received a call from Mr. Murdaugh's brother, Randy.
All right, and can you relate what the investigation learned from that particular conversation?
Alex Murdaugh was still in the hospital in Savannah. Randy and the family had been down there with him. Randy called Special Agent Owen to let him know that Alec had been making calls from the hospital to some unknown numbers. So Randy provided those numbers to us.
And was information related that he had had contact with hospital staff?
Yes, Randy told us that Alec was trying to convince the the medical staff members to allow him to use the phone so he could make phone calls.
And was information related that he was actually offering the staff money to try to use their phone?
Yes, one of the nurses in their notes made note of Mr. Murdaugh trying to offer money to use their phone.
Did the family of Mr. Murdaugh relate a specific name and a number to law enforcement as they discovered that Alec was attempting to contact this person?
A specific name and number were provided to us. Curtis Edward Smith. We were able to take the telephone number and trace that back to Mr. Smith.
During the course of this particular investigation, did law enforcement obtain any surveillance footage from any nearby establishments?
Yes, we did.
And can you describe that to the jury, please?
After the shooting, the agents who are present on the crime scene, obviously part of our investigation is to canvass the area. There was St. John's Baptist Church was nearby. Agents made contact with staff there. They in fact did have surveillance video that captured the roadway of Salcahatchee Road. Reviewing the footage, we first looked to isolate Mr. Murdaugh's black and color Mercedes. That was something that was a known to us. That he went that way, it would have been seen. And as we continued to review the footage, we started looking for a blue and color Chevy pickup truck. At 1:25 p.m. approximately, we observed a blue and color Chevy pickup truck with a gold or yellow in color passenger front quarter panel. Passed by at 1:25, approximately 20 seconds later, Mr. Murdaugh's black and color SUV passed by. At 1:30 p.m., the blue and color pickup truck was seen driving back the opposite direction away from where Mr. Murdaugh would have been.
All right, I'm going to show you 3 images that have been marked states 548, 549, and 550, and see if you recognize these images.
Yes, this is the 1:25 p.m. image. The first image is the pickup truck with the gold front quarter panel. The second image is 20 seconds later approximately with the black and color SUV. And the third image is at 1:30, 5 minutes later, with what appears to be the blue and color pickup truck driving back the other way.
Your Honor, this time the state would offer states 548, 549, and 550, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objection.
They are admitted.
All right. Putting this up on the screen, we have the timestamp up here, is that correct?
Yes,
And what is that right there?
that is it is a dark blue and colored Chevy pickup truck with a gold front quarter panel.
All right. 549. What does that image reflect?
It is the Mercedes SUV
Going in the same direction?
going in the same direction, approximately 20 seconds after.
And then 550, what does that reflect?
That is at 1:30 p.m., approximately 5 minutes after the initial vehicles were seen. The blue Chevy truck appears to be driving in the opposite direction.
Did law enforcement travel to any particular residence in light of the information that had been provided by the defendant's family about the calls that the defendant was making? Yes, once we were able to identify Curtis Edward Smith, we quickly learned that he was a resident of Walterboro, South Carolina. So we were able to go to his residence the morning of September 7th, and we were able, he lives at 1075 Burlington Road in Walterboro. Agent Owen went by and was able to locate or observe the blue and color Chevy pickup truck with the right front gold quarter panel. Was a search warrant conducted of that residence? Yeah, a search warrant was obtained and executed on the residence. What date was that? September 7th, 2021. All right, and during the course of that search warrant, was there some narcotics found? Yes. Was there a ledger found? Yes, so a small amount of narcotics. Mr. Smith has a garage, a modest home. Over the course of the execution of the search warrant, narcotics were located inside the garage, but the search of the residence, we found the best way I could describe it would be a physician's desk reference of multiple narcotic pills, like a drug reference guide that he had made personal notes in. And was there any sort of notebook with a ledger in it or anything like that recovered? Yes, there was also a small spiral notebook, a 3.5-inch spiral notebook that had various, it looked like, obviously it wasn't completed by an accountant, but there was numbers and there was pills and descriptions of it looks like some type of sales ledger. All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 551 and see if you recognize this image.
Yes, I do. These are transaction receipts and deposit and withdrawal receipts for Curtis Edward Smith's Enterprise Bank account.
And ultimately, did the law enforcement look at some of this financial information and trace that back to the defendant? This was recovered in Eddie Smith's house, correct?
Yes, those documents were recovered in Mr. Smith's house. At this point, Alex Murdaugh had been fired from his law firm for stealing from clients and from the firm. We were aware of that information. It was told to us that Mr. Murdaugh had a prescription drug addiction that we were aware of. At this point, we were aware of that Mr. Murdaugh had reached out to Mr. Smith from the hospital. So when we found, like I said, Mr. Smith lives in a modest house, has a modest vehicle. When we're seeing several $100,000 of deposits and financial records for Mr. Smith's Enterprise Bank, we obtained a search warrant. Through the execution of that search warrant, the funds were tied back to checks written by Mr. Murdaugh.
And did those funds continue up until the time of the murders at Moselle?
Yes, they did.
And did they continue afterwards?
They did.
Now, Your Honor, this time I would offer States 551 into evidence, I believe, without additional objection.
Without additional objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Did the investigation obtain any information from Blanca Simpson about any communication she had with the defendant that day, September 4th, 2021?
Yes, Ms. Simpson made contact with Mr. Murdaugh, where Mr. Murdaugh had requested her send him copies of their insurance cards.
Was that prior to the incident occurring on the side of the road?
Yes, when prior to the incident, Mr. Murdaugh attempted to meet with a few individuals, Mr. Wilson being one of them, and he made contact with Ms. Simpson via telephone.
In light of the information that had been uncovered about Eddie Smith and the connection, the financial connection between Eddie Smith and Alex Murdaugh, did the investigation seek to re-interview Alex Murdaugh?
We did. I reached out to Mr. Arpulian on the day of September 7th, 2021.
All right. And over the course of the next few days, was the defendant going to rehab?
Yes, we communicated regularly with Mr. Arpulian and Mr. Griffith. They made it known to us that Mr. Murdaugh had entered into a rehab facility that was out of state. So at that point, we were making an attempt to interview him. We made plans to travel to Atlanta, where we believe Mr. Murdaugh was, and those plans did not come to fruition.
Were you able to make contact with the defense and have a subsequent interview with the defendant, Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, Mr. Arpulian called me on September 13th, 2021, and we were able to set up a telephone interview of Mr. Murdaugh.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 552, State's Exhibit 552, and see if you recognize this disc.
I do. This is a recording of the September 13th, 2021 interview with Mr. Murdaugh.
Your Honor, this time I would offer States 552 into evidence, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
I'm going to publish that to the jury.
No, it should not. We're not.
Right, telephone conference interview of Alex Murdaugh, 9/13/21.
Whose voice is that?
Special Agent Jomar El Bayalde.
Was he present with you when you conducted this interview?
Yes, he was.
Jim.
Hey, Jim, this is Ryan Kelly and Jomar El Bayalde with SLED. How are you?
Hey, Brian and Joe.
Yes.
We're at an office over here in Atlanta with Alex and Dick, and I'm just gonna put the phone here on the table next to Alex, and then turn it over to you guys.
Well, let me start, Ryan. First of all, we only have about 30 to 40 minutes before we have to get out of here. Okay.
Okay, no problem, sir. Sorry about that. You caught me. I was halfway to Somerville, so I had to turn around and get into a place.
And I'm sorry, but we were late getting here to see Alex, and once we got in here, we had to have a long discussion.
Okay.
It's beneficial. I'd like to walk him through some questions, which will then allow you to question him, but give you some sort of, rather than him just sort of wandering around.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, before we get started, can we just have, for the purpose of our notes, obviously we prefer not to do telephone interviews. This is how y'all requested, so obviously, we don't really have a choice. But we just I'm gonna need Alex to identify himself, on the call, and basically what we do is I'm gonna ask him his date of birth and the last four of his social.
Okay. Go ahead.
Alex, just go.
Hello.
Alex, should you give me your full name?
Okay, Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Okay, and what's your date of birth?
My date of birth is May 27th, 1968,
Last four of your social.
7483.
Okay. And I understand that, obviously this is a unique situation conducting this interview over the phone. We need to, obviously you've been receiving some treatment. So just for the overall, sake of your competency to be giving us information, are you right now, sound body, sound mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you talking to us willingly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Dick. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so let me say for the record, his attorneys Jim Griffin and Dick Arbugian are here. We've spent the last hour talking to him. We believe that he is a sound mind and body, and that he understands, and that he is in no way diminished capacity.
Okay.
So he is perfectly competent to answer these questions. Now, we're willing to, and we've advised him, we're going to talk about the shooting incident a week ago Saturday, where he was shot in the head, and how that happened, who and why it was done.
Okay.
We don't want to talk about what happened in Moselle, and we don't want to talk about anything involving finances at the law firm. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, Alex, let's talk about last Saturday morning, and let me go through this briefly. Who did you meet with and talk to last Saturday morning?
I met with Jim Griffin and Chief Jesse.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
I drove to Hampton, and I met with Chris Wilson at my mom's house.
Okay. And you and Chris were talking about what?
About everything I had done.
Okay, everything you had done concerning finances.
Finances, pills, lies.
Okay. Now, were you taking, well, first of all, let me back up for just a second. Have you had a long-standing Oxycontin or opioid addiction issue?
Yes, sir.
How many years?
The best I can remember, around 20 years, 18 to 20 years.
Okay. Now, on this particular day, on this Saturday, were you taking the Oxycontin or taking any opioids?
I had taken some, but I was taking. I'd given it all that I had someone else, and I'd taken some at like 4 a.m. So I was having some withdrawals.
Okay. And the previous day, the news had come out about your embezzling or taking client money or law firm money. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how would you describe your state of mind at that time?
I was in a very bad place.
What does that mean?
I thought it would be better for me not to be here anymore.
What do you mean by not be here anymore?
I thought that it would make it easier on my family for me to be dead.
And easier, was some financial gain to your family if you were dead?
I have a fair amount of life insurance debt.
Do you remember how much?
Not off the top of my head, but like $10 million, $12 million.
Okay. And so you decided to end your life.
That's correct.
And tell these sweat agents how you went about arranging that.
I called Curtis Eddie Smith on the telephone.
Okay, now let's stop for a second. Who is Curtis Eddie Smith?
Curtis Eddie Smith is the primary person who I purchased pills from for years.
And some weeks you would give him how much money for pills?
I mean, it'd be in my records, but we had weeks where there would be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000.
That you would give him for pills?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've known him for how long?
Years.
Years. So, did you call him that morning?
Yes, sir, I did.
That day? About what time?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I asked him to...
Was it after you met with Jim Griffin?
It was after I met with Jim Griffin.
After you met with Chris Wilson?
I believe so.
Okay, and when you called him, what did you ask him?
I asked him to meet me.
Did he meet you?
He did.
Where did he meet you?
He met me out not too far from my mom's house.
Where?
He was on the side of the road. I think at the funeral home.
At the funeral home. Okay, and did y'all talk?
Not there. He followed me into town.
To where?
To over where I stopped by the Sunoco gas station.
Okay, did y'all have a discussion there?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all get out of your cars, or was this in your vehicle?
I don't think we got out of our cars.
And what vehicle were you in?
I was in my wife's Mercedes.
And what vehicle was he in?
He was in a gray pickup truck.
Okay, and what did y'all discuss?
I told him that things were getting ready to get really bad, and that I would be better off not here. And I asked him to shoot me.
And you asked him to shoot you?
That's correct.
And what was his response?
I mean, I think at first he was a little surprised, but then he said, okay.
Did you tell him where you wanted him to shoot you?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you tell him you wanted him to shoot you?
In the head.
And did you tell him how you were going to arrange that? What was going to be the logistics of that?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I told him to follow me out, and that I would make a flat tire, and he would go past me and turn around and come back and do it.
And did he follow you out?
He did.
Now, where did he get the gun?
I gave it to him.
Where did you give it to him?
We had stopped somewhere on Salcahatchee Road, I believe.
Did y'all have a discussion there, or did you just give him the gun?
We didn't have much discussion.
When you say much, was there any discussion?
I'm not sure. I was worried about cars coming, and so it was a very fast thing.
You gave him what kind of weapon did you give him?
A revolver pistol.
What caliber?
38.
Okay, and that was your gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so he followed you out to where?
Salcahatchee Road.
Okay, and you pull off the road?
Yes, sir.
And you pulled off the road, what did you do?
I stopped, made my tire flat.
How'd you make your tire flat?
With a knife.
Whose knife?
Mine.
What did you do with the knife after you made your tire flat?
Threw it.
Which tire?
Back driver's side.
Back driver's side. You threw it where?
Across the road.
Across the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it woods over there, a ditch, or do you know?
Just some grass, like thick grass.
Okay. And after you did that, he passed you, or did he pass you as you were doing that?
I think that he had already passed me and was in front of me and went down the road, turned around and come back.
Now, when he was coming back, you'd given him a pistol. What was your intent?
For him to kill me.
Okay. And when he came back, did he stop? Did he pull up? Do you know?
He did.
And when he pulled up, did you look in his face?
I don't think so.
So what happened next?
I stood close to his car.
And?
He shot me.
Where did he shoot you?
he missed and hit me in the very back of the head.
Okay. And as a result of being hit in the back of the head, did that have any physical effect on you?
It did.
What happened?
I lost my vision for a little bit, and I'm not sure if it knocked me to the ground or not, but I was disoriented, and it took me like a minute and a half, 2 minutes for my sight to come back.
And do you remember him driving off? Did you hear him drive off?
Not sure.
Okay, now after you came to your senses, did your vision come back?
It came back.
Okay, and what's the first time you remember somebody else being there?
I remember there were 2 cars that came, and one of them did a stop, and one of them did stop.
And the one that stopped, what did they do?
They tried to help me.
In what way?
In getting me to the, in every way that, first we got in, they were crowded in their car. There was some reason why their car was crowded, and I'm not sure what that was. But, so the young lady got in my car and was going to drive me to the hospital, and I just wasn't thinking about the flat tire. And so we had to get out of that, and then they worked it out somehow for me to be able to get in their car in the front passenger seat.
Okay, so, and you got in the front passenger seat, where did they take you?
To meet the ambulance.
Now, were you on, had you called 911?
Yes, sir.
And you tell them somebody shot you?
Yes, sir.
Somebody had shot you, right?
At my request.
So, your intent was to have him kill you so he could collect your life insurance, right?
So my son could. I mean, I knew I was about to lose everything, and I figured he's better off that way than dealing with me.
Now this gentleman that shot you, give me his name again.
Curtis Eddie Smith.
What kind of vehicle was he driving?
Gray truck.
Okay, and it's probably not relevant, but I'm intrigued by the fact, how long was it, had you ever discussed with him before killing you? Oh, you commit suicide?
No, sir.
How long did it transpire between the time you asked him to shoot you in the head on the side of the road and he actually shot you in the head on the side of the road?
When I first asked him, we were at the Sunoco station in Barnville.
And how long after that did he actually shoot you in the head?
However long it takes to drive from there to Talkatchee Road.
More than a half an hour?
No, I don't think so.
Did he ever ask you to reconsider or say, things aren't that bad? Did he ever, try to convince you to do otherwise?
No, sir.
You find that strange?
I didn't, I was focused on...
Focused on what?
Being gone.
Okay. So that's all the questions I have, but I tried to lay it out as expeditiously as possible. That he'll be happy to answer any other questions, any additional questions. And again, I'm not a trained interviewer, so y'all have at it. We've got about another 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hey, let me ask you this: y'all recording this, aren't you?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Yep. So, Alex, how long have you known Curtis Smith?
And Ryan, Officer Kelly, before we start, I just want to tell you, I apologize to you for lying at you in the hospital. I was in a very bad place.
No, sir, we understand. We understand. And I do appreciate you, helping us figure this out now. So that's in the past, so let's just focus on what we're doing now. How long have you known Curtis?
I've known him for years. I represented him. He knew my dad somehow from playing softball, and he came to my dad with a lawsuit, and I handled that case. So I would guess 10, 12
Okay.
years ago.
How often would y'all talk on the phone?
Very frequently.
Okay. And what would y'all talk about?
Getting pills.
Okay. And you would pay him money to get you pills, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How often would you pay him?
Frequently.
Okay. Well, I mean, once a week, twice a week?
It would vary sometimes, but it was several times a week.
How would you pay him?
In cash and mostly in checks, but in some cash too.
Okay. And what accounts would those checks come from?
The vast majority of them would come from the Bank of America account, but there would also be some funds that would come from the Palmetto State account.
And whose accounts are those?
Mine. The Bank of America accounts are in my name, and then there's another account there that I created that's a DBA, that's my name, DBA Forge, and then my checking account at Palmetto State Bank.
Okay, so there's two accounts at Bank of America?
Yes, sir.
The DBA and then your checking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the DBA?
Forge, F-O-R-G-E.
Thank you. Okay, and then the Palmetto is your, was the other checking account?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who was he, so you were paying him the money. Do you know who he was getting the drugs from?
No, sir.
Al, what did he tell you where he's getting?
Oh, well, I was told that he got them from a black guy in Walterboro, and I was told that he had some connection in Beaufort, but I never.
Did he give you a name?
No, sir. I never saw those guys. I never dealt with those guys, so I don't know. That's what he told me.
Would you ever give anybody else money for drugs?
Yes, sir.
Who else did you give money?
I had given Kenny Hughes money.
Who's Kenny Hughes?
He's a guy that I called up and asked him if he knew anybody that he could buy pills from.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I had a client that had issues and couldn't get them medically, and that, you know, and I would pay him as well, but I called him up and asked him to do it.
All right, how much money do you think you gave him?
I have no idea.
Okay, did you write him a check or pay him cash?
Both.
Okay. Did you pay anybody else?
No, sir.
So it was just Curtis Smith and Kenny Hughes?
Yes, sir.
Sure about that? Think about it.
In the past, I have paid other people.
Okay, who are those other people?
I had a lady that worked at our house that, at our mom's house that.
And who's that?
Barbara Mixon. But that was on a very, very few occasions.
And did you pay her a cash and check, or how'd you pay her?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, that was on very limited occasions.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So the .38 revolver, it was your revolver?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you get that from?
It was at my mom's house
When did you pick it up?
when I went up there that day.
Do you know where it is now?
No, sir.
So you gave the gun to Curtis, And you don't know what he did with it?
That's correct.
Has anybody in your family had any communications with Curtis recently?
I don't know why.
Well, because when we interviewed him, he said he had to talk to his attorney first, and he listed you. And then when we said that wasn't possible, he listed Randy. So we're just trying to figure out.
Randy's not going to represent him.
And let me say this, maybe.
Hold on, I got one more question. Does Randy have any knowledge of this?
Does Randy have any knowledge of what?
Of this attempted suicide / agreement with Curtis?
I have told I told both my brothers and my son
When?
very recently.
Yesterday, right?
When was it, Jeff?
Yesterday. After we told him we're coming here so that he could tell you, he wanted them to hear from him first.
Okay, so Randy didn't have any knowledge last week, previously?
No.
Absolutely not. I lied to him too.
No, Alec told me yesterday about 4:15, and then I sort of tipped John Marvin off, and then later on I learned that, and I talked to Alec, and he had called Buster, John Marvin, and Randy after I spoke with him at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
We didn't advise him to do that. We're trying to.
And before that, I told them the same lies that I told you.
Now, here's an important thing. Since the shooting, have you talked to the shooter?
Yeah,
Okay, tell them about those calls.
I'm not sure. I was in the very beginnings of my detox, and I can just see where I tried to call on the phone. And I know I talked to him, but I don't have it.
Did you call him or did he call you?
I called him.
Okay, but you don't remember what he said.
I don't.
Do you remember what you told him?
No, sir.
And this is when you were in the hospital in Savannah?
No, this is when I was in detox here.
Okay, so you've called him since you went, because you went to detox.
Let me ask you this, Agent Kelly, has the investigation revealed, as you testified before, that the defendant, Alex Murdaugh, did call Eddie Smith, trying to use staff phones as well while he was at the hospital additionally in Savannah?
Yes, Mr. Murdaugh was able to contact Mr. Smith while staying at the hospital in Savannah. When? Monday night?
That's right.
Did you call him on a nurse's phone from the hospital? I heard that from.
But you know what? Randy did say I did that.
But you don't have a memory of that.
Randy said that I called him, and then he was asking me. He did say I did that.
Oh. But you don't remember calling Curtis.
I don't, but I will tell you from past experience that when withdrawals begin, you will do just about anything to make them quit. And I probably was calling him for that purpose.
To get pills.
Probably.
All right, so you don't know where the gun is at?
No, sir.
But you last saw it in Curtis Smith's possession?
I gave it to him, yes, sir.
All right, so the accounts that you were writing the checks to Curtis were Bank of America and Palmetto State Bank?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the funds, where were those funds coming from?
Well, that's maybe an area we don't want to talk about, but just let's say the bulk of them were not legitimately obtained.
Okay, and I'm not trying to be coy. It's just that, Mr. Murdaugh is independently wealthy, so
Not anymore.
Well,
Not
I understand that, but I think it's a pertinent question. So
look, he was independently wealthy, but there's a significant amount of money missing from clients in the law firm.
Okay. So the money came from ill-gotten gains? Is that what?
Some of it. Most, I would say the majority of it, but some of it I'm sure I use my own personal funds too.
Okay.
I mean, I was buying so many.
All right, so just let me get this straight. So you, entered into did you pay Curtis any money for this?
No, sir.
You didn't pay him anything, so you just asked of a favor and he did it.
Yes, sir.
Kill me. That's a great favor.
And so, and these checks that you were paying to Curtis, I mean, they were pretty significant, right?
Yes, sir.
But and when was the last time? I know. I mean, I'm not trying to get you to. When was the last time you made a payment to Curtis? Was it before the shooting?
It would have been. I mean, not like right before the shooting, but
Yeah.
it would have been several days.
Okay. Did you remember how much you paid him?
No, sir. I think the
Was it check or 10?
the last few times I paid him were all in check, and I was trying to, see him as little as possible.
All right. Now let me ask you this: do you owe money to any drug dealers?
No, sir.
So there's not a threat out there that we need to worry about for Buster.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, so the money that you were paying to Curtis to get money from his dealer or his supplier, you were paid in full in those payments. So there's no outstanding debt that we need to worry about.
No, sir.
Hey, Ryan, that's assuming that Curtis passed all the money along.
Well, no, I understand. And we'll work. So, to the best of your knowledge, you don't owe anybody.
No, sir.
Okay. So the money that you paid him, you don't remember how much you paid him, but it was for pills, and you're saying that you didn't pay him at all for him to shoot you.
That's correct.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I understand.
And I know that, like, whether you did or you didn't, it really doesn't have that much of a difference. So I'm not gonna, but I appreciate you're being forthcoming and you're making every attempt to be honest at this point. But so, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So you did not make any financial payment to Curtis to have him shoot you.
No, I did not.
Okay, but you entered into a verbal agreement with him to set up a scheme where he would shoot you. It would be a suicide set up as a robbery homicide, and you doing so was in order for your son to get your life insurance policy.
I don't know about a robbery, but everything else is true.
Hold on. So let me say this to you. He's had this policy for 10 years. Suicide.
I've had a policy.
No, I understand that policies. I mean, what is the policy with? Where's it at?
I don't know where the actual policy is.
Okay. Did you intend to have that paperwork in the Mercedes, like the will and all that information? Was that left in there intentionally?
Well, I've been down to meet with some lawyers about some things, and it was in there from that
Who do you mean?
day before. I can't call her name now. My Buster's girlfriend's employers, Kathy Olivetti.
Yeah. And you're meeting with them about why did you have Will's stuff?
Just getting things cleaned up. I'd been down and met with him one time before, and
Ryan, there's a 2-year statutory a suicide exclusion. In other words, if you have the policy more than 2 years, you can commit suicide and still collect.
Yep. Okay.
So that's not, now, what he thought really doesn't matter, but he may have thought
Yeah.
that there had been a problem.
Okay. But you still entered into an agreement, basically, to have him kill you, so your son would then reap the insurance benefits. And
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You in. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. So, how did you get the knife? Was it your knife?
You know, I think that Eddie gave it to me. Curtis Eddie Smith gave it to me.
Okay. And then how did you make the tire flat?
I just stuck it.
So you punctured the tire with the knife?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Eddie gave you the knife. You took the knife and punctured the tire.
That's correct.
And then what did you do with the knife?
Threw it.
Threw it where?
I believe across the road, but I'm not absolutely positive.
Okay, but you threw it, you disposed of it in the area of where the Mercedes was parked?
I think I threw it across the road from where it was parked.
Okay, okay. Do you know if they disposed of the gun out there?
I do not know.
Okay. Okay, was that gun registered to anybody?
Probably.
Probably to who?
Should have been. I believe that I purchased it, so I believe it would be registered to me.
Do you remember when you purchased it?
No, sir.
Where would you have purchased it? You know?
I got no idea.
Okay. Ron, you don't have Curtis Eddie's phone number?
Sir?
You have Curtis Eddie's phone numbers.
If y'all have them, we'd love to get them.
Yeah. It will be out to you.
Yeah, I got a cell number, 843-908-1534. And a home number at 843-538-4691.
All right. Alex, did you ever have any dealings with anybody else besides Eddie? Any of his friends, family, girlfriend?
I mean, I knew who his girlfriend was, but I never had any dealings with her about pills.
Who's his girlfriend?
A lady named Donna Eason. I don't know her very well, but I've just helped her with a couple of little legal issues over the years.
Okay.
But she never was involved in the exchange of pills or money.
Okay. Is there a property up in Hugie?
A property where?
In Hugie, up 41. Do you guys own any property up there?
Oh, yes, sir. And out of Charleston?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
There's a piece of property that I owned with a bunch of other people that nobody else would pay, and so I've been paying for it, and he did some work up there digging some ditches.
When did he do that?
He started within the last couple of months.
And that property, where's it at in Hugie?
It's off of United Road, United Drive.
Okay.
I think it's called Redbeard and 0 United Drive.
Hey, Ron, we're going to have to jump here in just a minute.
Okay.
Down here in just a minute.
All right. Alex, is there anything else that we're missing, that we're not asking you?
Like, in regards to what? Not that I can think of, but, like, what are you thinking?
I was just kind of leaving that open-ended. Like I said, I'm not trying to get like I'm not involved in the other aspects of whatever other investigations. You know, we're keeping those separate. So, so you communicated with Curtis. You would communicate with him over cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. How many phones do you have, Alex?
At the time.
I had one phone. 1227 was my primary phone, and then
I have to download that phone, Brian. You know, when SLED started focusing on Alex, said he's a target, we started doing our own work. So I took possession of that and sent it to a guy to download, and he had to get a separate phone, and that was that other number. And then y'all seized both of those, that's
Okay.
my understanding.
All right, and then he's got a third phone that he got prior to going to the treatment center.
Yeah, from Walmart, burner phone.
Okay. What is his extended? What's your expected length of treatment there in Alpharetta?
Well, it's unclear right now, but it'll go from here into rehab at some point. We'll keep you posted.
Okay. Okay. So anytime obviously this is, so you've identified Curtis Smith as the individual who shot you. And y'all entered into an agreement, so y'all kind of were hand in hand in this.
very much so.
And he never tried to talk you out of it?
I don't know. No, sir. I don't think he did.
Okay. Did anybody know about this plan besides you and Curtis?
No.
Okay. All right.
And if you're all about done, let me put this on the record. Alex, did you tell us the truth? I just want to make sure Ryan understands. You haven't been leading him on a very, when...
No, I did not tell anybody the truth until, was it yesterday?
Yep.
Until yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
I've been really, really sick, and it was really the first day where I had any coherent thought process. And I sincerely apologize again for lying to y'all about everything that I did.
Yes, sir. And you have no idea where the gun is?
I do not.
Alex, you're right-handed, right?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, and you did not shoot yourself, correct?
I did not shoot myself.
Did you? Were there? And what was the plan for Curtis to follow you out there, and you would immobilize your vehicle? So did he stop to make it fly for you to give you the knife first? I mean, how did that play? Because you got the knife from Curtis. When did you get the knife from him?
I think I got it from him when I gave him the gun.
Okay, when you were at the Sunoco?
No, we didn't do it then. That's when.
Okay, when you pulled off the side of the road in Salcahatchee?
Shortly after we made the turn onto Salcahatchee, we stopped and did a quick exchange.
Okay, so you stopped, pulled over the side of the road, stuck the tire. Where was Curtis at when you were disabling the tire?
I believe he was going past me.
Okay, so he turned around, and where were you at when he turned around?
I'm not sure. I mean, I would have been on the side of the road, I think.
Okay, so did he pull up, kind of like what you said, just past your car?
That's basically the way I told you it happened is kind of how it happened, except it was arranged by me.
Okay, so as you turned around and turned your back to him,
About how far do you think you were from the car?
I don't know, 4 or 5 feet.
Okay, 4 or 5 feet. And did you just stand there and wait for him to shoot you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how, I'm assuming he just fired once?
Yes, sir.
And then you fell to the ground or stumbled off.
I'm still not positive about that part, but I did lose my vision for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes.
Okay. And why didn't you? Why weren't you truthful with us when this initially happened?
I don't have a good reason. I was in bad place.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Well, I know our time's cut short, but
And Ryan, I'll call you from the car once we get out of here in just a couple minutes, and then I'll call you while we're driving back to the airport.
okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen. So we'll finish this. We are finishing the recording with Richard Alex Murdaugh, his attorneys Dick Harpoolian and Jim Griffith, and Special Agent Ryan Kelly, Special Agent Joe Valde. It is now 4:58 on Monday, September 13th. Thank y'all, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Special Agent Kelly, is that the complete conversation that you had with Alex Murdaugh on September 13th, 2021?
Yes, it is.
Prior to that conversation, over the course of the 911 call, the ambulance, and multiple interviews at the hospital, did Alex Murdaugh ever mention or identify Curtis Edward Smith at all until his lies about the side of the road were exposed?
No.
Did Alex Murdaugh ever say that there was any risk or threat to Buster?
He said no. No, he did not. He actually denied it when we asked.
Did Alex Murdaugh say that Curtis Eddie Smith had anything to do with the murders at Moselle?
He denied it when we asked.
And is there any evidence that Curtis Edward Smith had anything to do with Moselle?
None whatsoever.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Harpoolian.
Your Honor, I understand we have a 4:30 cutoff. You just want me to go as far as I can go?
Or we can adjourn now for the day.
I don't, this is going to take a while, and I would suggest perhaps maybe one adjourn.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adjourn till 9:30 tomorrow morning.